Hi, and welcome back to the Ask Dr. Renee Show. I am your host, Dr. Renee, and I never do introductions, but today I'm going to give a thorough introduction because we really have a special guest today. So, Kevin Iega Jeff, known to most as simply Iega, is a celebrated dancer, choreographer, artistic director, and innovative leader, recognized by the Juilliard School as one of its 100 outstanding alumni. He's been honored alongside legends like Viola Davis and Aretha Franklin. New City Magazine listed Iega among Chicago's top performers, and Mayor Lori Lightfoot appointed him to Chicago's Cultural Advisory Council. He's danced on Broadway in The Wiz, on TV at the 1994 Academy Awards, and choreographed the film Spike Lee's She's Gotta Have It. With over 50 choreographed pieces to his name, he has been commissioned by premier companies and theaters both nationally and internationally. As a community-focused artist, Iega has worked on global projects like Grit and Grace and Swamp Gravy. He's educated at institutions from Howard University to the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. Originally from New York, Iega started at the Bernice Johnson Cultural Arts Center and later founded Jubilation Dance Company. He co-founded Chicago's deeply rooted dance theater in 1995, setting the stage for the future deeply rooted Center for Black Dance and Creative Communities. After leading Deeply Rooted for 24 years, Iega moved to its emeritus role in 2022, steering new projects like Creative Communities and Goshen, featuring the music of Grammy Award winner Donald Lawrence. When asked to reflect on his philosophy, Iega says, "I am influenced by the spectrum of energies in creation and my mentors before me. Dance and art reveal our inner genius, reflecting who we are and who we strive to become." Please welcome to the show, Iega Jeff.
Hey,
Hello. Thank you for joining
hey,
us as we take a moment to discuss the impact of the arts, faith, and wellness. We know that throughout history, even in the earliest days of African traditions, art has been used as a means of healing and therapy. But beyond just that, what we will explore today is how the arts connected to a spiritual lens can be empowering, informative, and transformative. So let's jump in. Here's our guest.
beautiful. Hello, Dr. Renee.
Hi, great to see you.
Great to be seen.
Amen to that. Right? Somebody said, better to be seen than viewed,
That's right.
right? So many wonderful things we've shared in your bio, really speaking to your work and the impetus of your work. Can you start by sharing a bit more about your work and why you chose dance as a means to do this work?
Well, yeah, actually, I'd start by saying dance chose me. Uh, I started moving first, just informally. You're in school, talent shows, and dance festivals in elementary school. So dance really, really found me. And fortunately, I was lucky enough to be in a city, in New York City, to grow up in a city that really made arts available to young people. I performed in a summer workshop called Teenage Performance Workshop under Mayor Lindsay's administration. So that's way, way, way back. And it was through that process I met incredible artists that told me I could do this as a profession if I trained. And so they directed me, a guy named Keith Simmons, a really dear friend of mine, directed me to Bernice Johnson Dance Studio in Jamaica, Queens, New York. And she opened the world of dance to me. She gave me a scholarship, a work scholarship, where you cleaned the mirrors, you swept the floors, you did whatever you needed to do to keep the studio going and vital as a scholarship student. And then you would be given classes. So that was my entree. And I did have to, I remember having to work that first year to pay for some of the classes, which is a good thing because you learn the value of it.
Right.
But as I progressed, I was able to to garner scholarships through her program. And she prepared me for the dance world. I went to Performing Arts High School, the Fame School for
That's what I was
those
about
that
to
may
say.
not,
Did you go to the
the Fame, The same school, and that's my graduating class. That's in the film, by the way, because that was the year that I graduated, and I was doing the Wiz on Broadway, so I couldn't do the movie. So that movie is my yearbook, you know. And,
Wow. Okay, but I have to pause for a second. So
okay.
my mother's friend, he grew up next door to her, was in the original Wiz on Broadway.
Oh my
Bondi
gosh.
Curtis Hall.
Absolutely. I know Bondi. You know,
So
we
his
were.
family literally grew up next door to my mom. And of course, obviously I wasn't around, but years later, my grandfather died and his mother came over, and he really does look a lot like her. She came over. We were at, having the repast at the house, and she came over, and I was like, oh my goodness. And then I was out one night in Detroit, and he came into the sports bar where I was, and it was when he was on ER at the time. So my
Yes.
friend knew who he was because of that, and I was like, that is, his family grew up next to my mom, and it was so cool because he literally named my aunts and uncles. There's a lot of them. Just as fast as my grandmother went through the list. And I was like, oh my God. And I went home and told my mom, and she goes, well, Renee, he grew up next door. I was like, yeah, but I couldn't believe he knew your names like so quickly. Judy Gloria. I was like, oh my God. It was so cool. Yeah. So that's
Well,
funny. He's on the original Broadway CD for.
yes, yeah. I mean, the world, the dance world, the arts world, the music world, the movies, whatever, wherever people aspire to, whatever they achieve, they begin in community.
Right.
That's the bottom line, you know. So I knew Vondi before he became Vondi Curtis Hall. I knew we weren't close friends, but we were colleagues, and we would be in spaces and we'd see each other, and then you see this trajectory of people having their dreams and their aspirations kind of showing up in classrooms together, dance classes together, acting classes together, whatever the forums were, we would see each other and develop either friendships or colleagueships, relationships, but we would see everyone grow and achieve what their aspirations were. And Vondi was one of those folks. And why I point to that again is because with your original question is why dance? Why the arts? Dance chose me, but then I found people that directed me to a place where I could be nurtured.
Right.
Yeah. Where I could find out who I was in creation, which is what my mentor would always say, that our responsibility in community, in family, is to be around people who help us understand who we are in creation. And so, what does that mean? That means really understanding your genesis, which I equate to the word your genius. And that becomes a map for your evolution as you peel away the layers of who you are and begin to understand what those layers really, really mean. So for me, although I was young and I wanted to dance, and dance sounded really sexy and sounded really like I could become this kind of star, perhaps an incredible Broadway star dancing on Broadway. And I did dance on Broadway, or dancing on a concert stage, and I did dance on concert stages. But the reality is that while I was learning how to dance, I was learning about me. And in the course of that, even though I did those things that I aspired to do as a young person, what I really learned that there was something much greater, something much deeper, if you will, that was really moving my soul. And that was my spiritual connection to this art form. That was my intellectual connection to this art form, my physical connection, and then the understanding of how all those three things together, the Trinity, help us to manifest the lives that we choose to live and the material things that we choose to aspire to have in our lives. And when we keep that alignment, then we keep ourselves whole. And so I became intrigued and just shaped by those ideas as a mission to my life. And so my whole life has been a dichotomy of the two worlds, so to speak. It's the idea of being a performer, but really being a performer that's really committed to human development.
So can you speak about what your thoughts are about the intersectionality between the arts, faith, and wellness?
The intersectionality of that. I would say for me, it's like breathing. You know, when I wake up and I go to a studio, I am looking at myself in the mirror, if you will. If you go to a dance studio, you're going in and this becomes your instrument. And as my teachers would always say, you can't hide when you're dancing. You're either doing it or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You can sometimes hide if you're writing a paper. You know, you can kind of hide behind the words or kind of create these incredible images through words on page. But as a dancer, you're either creating those images for an audience or you're not. You're either creating the emotion for an audience. My screen is thumbs upping.
Yes.
Yeah. All of this technology, I tell you. But you're either doing it or you're not. You're naked. And so what I find is when I dance in environments that require me to be true, that you can't. And if you're dancing material, like if you're dancing a work about the evolution of a community through love, you know, if you talk, there's a dance I choreographed which has a incredible song called "Sad Young Men" by Roberta Flack. And in that story of the sad young men, it's these